Normally, when we score 40 points, we win the game. This just happened to be one of those weird anomalies, and unfortunately, it was against Dallas. Let's talk on your Packers Fan Podcast.
Greetings, fellow cheeseheads. I'm Scott Clark from the Gaming Outsider Podcast, and part of me wants to shake Captain Pack Sparrow's hand for predicting a 40-burger. When you know your team scores that many points, you just assume you've won the game. That's not the case this time, however. Regardless of the lack of the W this week, I'm happy to be here talking Green Bay football.
Indeed. And I'm Wayne Henderson, and I don't know why I'm feeling as bad about tying the game as if we had just outright lost it. Anyway, on this 325th edition of Your Packers Fan Podcast, we're going to recap the highs and lows from that Packers at Cowboys game, and our listener feedback section is on point as usual. Check that out in just a bit.
Also, the Packers are heading into their early year bye week this week, so we are not going to be previewing the game till next week, but what will the team be doing at the extra time? We'll discuss that for sure. And let's go ahead and jump right into it and talk about this game. What a crazy game. I can't imagine being on the East Coast and having to stay up till like 12:30 for this game. I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning for work. So it was 11:30. I am exhausted today because there's no way I wasn't going to see this game through its conclusion. It was kind of crazy. However, there was a record broken during this game, Wayne. I actually went to do some research right before we recorded. I could not find. Now, I think the website that I was looking at only went back to like 2004 or something like that, but I was looking for games where the Packers scored at least 40 points and did not win the game. I could not find this happening anywhere else. However, this was officially the most points scored in an overtime tie in NFL history. I don't know if you knew this or remember this, you were there, but the overtime, scenario didn't start until 1974. And since then, we've now had 30 ties, apparently. And this was one of them, and it was the highest scored with 80 points. The previous record was 74 points when the Bengals and Panthers tied in 2014 with a score of 37-37. So I thought that was a little fun fact for you, man.
But how about a little asterisk for that? Even though this was not under the current overtime thing, this was the second highest scoring NFL game in history that ended in a tie. The only higher scoring game that was a tie was back in 64. No, I was not there. This was when the Raiders and Patriots tied 43-43.
Wow. Okay. But that was a full regulation game. That wasn't overtime. Is that right?
I wasn't there. I'm not 100% sure, but that's a lot of points.
Okay. That is a lot of points, especially if there's no overtime to compensate for it. But anyway, even though we did not get the win on this one, we still want to talk about the leaders of this game. Jordan Love, 31 for 43 for 337 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, and somehow walked away with a 58.0 passer rating. That does not make any sense to me whatsoever. He was sacked, I guess, but that still just seems like quite a drop.
I think that's wrong.
That's what the box score said. I'll double check it when it gets.
No, the box score. Maybe they just left off. I don't know. That sounds awfully low, but I admit, Scott, I don't understand how they even come up with the quarterback rating.
I don't either. It's math that is just way above my head. I really don't get it. But I'm looking it up again. Yeah. Nope. They have updated it. It is now a rating of 118.1. So that makes a lot more sense.
That sounds about right.
There you go. Also on the rushing side, Josh Jacobs was a leader with 22 carries for 86 yards and 2 touchdowns. And what do you know? The top receiver was also Josh Jacobs with 4 receptions for 71 yards, but he didn't have any touchdowns. Although you got to give a shout out to Romeo Doubs. He did have 3 touchdown catches. So somehow they do top receivers based on yards and receptions, not touchdown passes. It doesn't factor in. So
interesting indeed.
On the defensive side of the ball, Quay Walker, it was all over the place. 11 tackles and 6 of them were on his own. So it was great to see him all over the place. And then let's get into it, starting with the opening offensive drive. Packers started just past their own 30, had a 46-yard catch to Golden on third down. That was incredible. I love that we're getting to see more of him. Obviously not being a college ball guy, I know very little about him other than what I've seen in films, but he's got some great hands, he's got some great awareness and some fantastic speed, and I'm loving seeing him on there more often. Did try to draw the offsides on the 1 yard line, but wound up with a false start, putting them back 5 yards. That was frustrating. However, there was an absolutely surgeon-like throw to Dobbs in the back corner of the end zone for a touchdown, and Packers kicked things off with a 7-0 lead. And then the opening defensive drive, things just looked even better. Quay Walker seemed to be everywhere on all 3 first plays, very quick 3 and out, and the Packers recovered their punt around their own 10 to start their second drive. But those are the first 2 opening drives. Wayne, let's talk about some of the positives, some of the good things that happened in this game.
And there were plenty. In fact, Romeo Dobbs gets his second TD in the first half of the second quarter. This drive was kept alive by some heads-up plays, to be sure. First off, Jordan Love caught the defense during a line change, was able to snap the ball while Dallas still had 12 people on the field, reversed an interception as well. Also, Love ran out of running room behind the line of scrimmage, but just kind of flipped the ball back to Josh Jacobs, kind of an act of desperation. But Jacobs wound up with an excellent run along the sideline to put Green Bay in great field position. Jordan then put one in the hands of Romeo Dobbs in the end zone to extend the lead. Now, unfortunately, the extra point was blocked. Dallas recovered it, ran it all the way back for 2 points. Now, I know that's in the rules, but I've never really seen it happen live in a game.
I don't think I've seen it live in a game either, and it just really kills me because this game was a tie, man.
Right. That point would have changed everything. We were leading 13-2 at that time.
All the things to make you lose the game. A PAT should just be such a fundamental, by the book, routine at this point, and that's what lost the game for us inevitably. Is really frustrating. But keeping the positivity rolling, though, Green Bay finally answers in their first drive of the third quarter. Got a bit lucky on a 3rd and 1 where Love was sacked, but only because his face mask was grabbed. There were a couple great plays by Jacob set up a pass to Kraft, who ran it the rest of the way to the left pylon for a TD. But wait, he was ruled down just shy of the end zone, and then they were flagged for a false start. I was like, you got to be kidding me. But thankfully, Jacobs ran one in on 3rd down to give the Packers a lead. They were up 20-16 at this point.
Still feeling pretty good. And Josh Jacobs responds at the start of the 4th quarter with a gorgeous run, one of his best of this season. Great drive overall, but Jacobs was clearly the star of this drive. And on the final play for the score, he ran straight through the line and then to the right side of the end zone for 18 yards. The Packers lead again. Woohoo! 27-23, and the points are starting to stack up, Scott.
Absolutely. Then Romeo Dobbs with the hat trick to give the Packers a much-needed lead inside the 2-minute warning of the game. Fantastic, well-earned drive. Finished on a 3rd down touchdown pass to Romeo to give Green Bay a 4-point lead. This also forced the Cowboys to burn 2 timeouts, which was, again, making me feel pretty good. Cowboys only had 1:45 left in the game to get a touchdown. They could not win with a field goal. They had to get a touchdown. So the Packers were ahead 34-30. I was like, all right, this is good. I'm feeling great. Let's do this thing.
Indeed.
And then,
but this is still kind of a highlight. Brandon McManus, he ties the game in the closing seconds of regulation. The Packers offense actually played smart football in those last 60 seconds or so of regulation. Got McManus within range. He split the uprights perfectly. We tied it up, went into overtime, and the Packers, as is tradition, win the toss and elect to defer.
And then Parsons. God, I love seeing Parsons there with a touchdown-saving tackle in overtime. Prescott saw some daylight, was running for 6. Parsons refused to give up, chased him down, and got him at the line of scrimmage. It did count as a sack. They had one more play that forced the Cowboys to settle for a field goal, so Dallas was leading 40-37 with 4:40 left in overtime, and that gave us plenty of time to get down there, at least tie the game, but hopefully, take the lead. Green Bay marches down the field to tie the game. They did get within the red zone. There was a 3rd down shot in the end zone, missed with 1 second left in the game. I don't know about you, but I was on pins and needles because I thought at this point they were going to lose. There's no time, and I'm looking at the clock, looking at the play. This is very nerve-wracking. It would have been great if he'd caught it, but at least there was 1 second left, and McManus hits a field goal to end the game in a tie, 40-40, 11:30 at night, and I was exhausted. And that's where the good news stops.
Yeah, we do have to touch on some of the lowlights, Scott. The final seconds of the first half, Love gets the ball stripped. Disaster strikes because Dallas recovers the ball already in the red zone. The very next play, Dak Prescott throws one to Pickens to give Dallas that 16-13 lead going in at the half. This was Love's first fumble of the season, which was good, but this was not a good time to have that first one.
Absolutely. I'm also really frustrated with the play calling, at least, especially in the first half. But they had one big play to Golden in that opening drive, and it just felt like they figured they should just keep going for crazy plays after that. They did a flea flicker, and there was nobody open. Like, you got to have somebody open if you do a flea flicker. I kept thinking to myself, they seem to have forgotten that they lost to Cleveland last week and need to remember that before they start getting overconfident again. Because that's what it felt like. It was like, oh, we got this. We're playing Dallas. All is well. And you guys lost in Ohio last week. Come on. That was really the start of my frustration, because I feel like, and I say this often, that the Packers do well, especially on a defense like Dallas's, where if they just keep getting to the line quickly to confuse the defense and do these quick short passes or short runs just to constantly keep that motor running, you're going to be more successful. And no, they just keep going for the deep ball. I get it. We have been blessed with Favre and Rodgers for the last 30 years of Packers football. I don't want Jordan Love to be that same thing. I want it to be a fundamental football team. And when they do that, it works. And the play calling in this case was not doing that. And it really frustrated me. I just very, very annoyed with the play calling.
I was frustrated as well, Scott. Late in the third quarter, the defense let the Cowboys just march all the way down the field from the 25-yard line. I got to admit, that was just difficult to watch, borderline painful. Micah Parsons also went into the medical tent on this drive for concussion protocol. So I'm like, great, just great. And overall, just not a good feeling drive, not a good looking drive. Dallas was leading 23-20, and I was beginning to get worried that this is how it's going to end.
And I don't know if you saw Parsons' reaction when he came out of the medical tent, because you could tell he just wanted to get back in the game. And he had no idea what happened. Came back out with his helmet, ready to go, ready to get back on the field, and saw what had already happened. And it was too late for him to have any effect. He almost threw his helmet to the ground. Thankfully, kind of pulled it back. But, he's only been with the team for 4 weeks now, right? Or 4
right. Something like
weeks
that.
of regular season. He was obviously a couple weeks before that, and he's already that passionate about winning. Like, it feels like he has gelled so much with this team, and he's got that righteous anger that's, in post-game commentaries and stuff. I'm really, even though this was not a good game for us, I don't think it was a terrible game. Like, I know we didn't win, but I think people are forgetting that we put up 40 points. Last week was a very awesome defensive game. This week was a very good offensive game. Now, granted, we're playing against two completely different defenses, but I think there's a lot of positives to look at this game. There's just, unfortunately, just as many negatives, but I don't think it was a terrible, terrible game. Moving on, after the Packers' first fourth quarter score, the Cowboys marched all the way down the field for yet another touchdown. Penalties were huge this drive. There was a face mask. There was all kinds of yellow laundry in the field. Dallas takes the lead again, 30-27. This was the fifth lead change of the game.
Crazy.
As the teams were trading blows, especially in the second half. Very crazy up and down game. Just a shootout at this point.
And then somehow the Cowboys got that score within 62 seconds of the final minute of the game. Prescott to Pickens in the end zone. The Cowboys were leading 37-34. And with only 45 seconds left to tie the game and force overtime, I admit, if we had Aaron Rodgers, 45 seconds would be plenty. But can we do it with Jordan Love? And, well, we did force the overtime.
Nearly did, man. Nearly did. It was so close. It was just so close. And that would have made me feel a lot better. But unfortunately, we walked away with the loss. And I was not sure what to do at work today, because as you know, I have a tradition. Whenever the Packers win, I have a tie
that
I wear to work, my victory tie. I can't remember the last time we tied at all, much less since I've been doing this show with you, Wayne. So I think that it's safe to say this is the first tie that we've had since I started podcasting with you. Is that correct?
There might have been one a few years ago, but I don't remember what we did.
I don't remember either. But
so do you wear a tie when we get a tie, or what happens?
I did wear a tie, so I have a tie now. I've got a tie that's got Lombardi on the base of it, and it's got one of his quotes on. I wore that today. Nobody made a comment about it. I was expecting to get all kinds of flack from Bears fans or something, but yeah. So I have a victory tie, and now I have a tie.
Just in case.
Just in case.
This could be a new trend for the team, unfortunately. Well, as the Packers head into the bye week, which is far too early, but at the same time, very much needed, our weekly poll question, which we post in the Facebook group at packerscommunity.com, as well as on X at Packers Fan Pod shortly after the game's done. And we'll have one next weekend without a game, but as we get ready to come back off the bye. But this time, how much of a benefit will this early bye week have for our Packers? Will it be a massive benefit all the way around? Or will it help a little? Maybe just rest up, or no benefit at all? None. What do you think, Scott?
It's hard to say definitively. I think there's just no real way to answer this. I think having the bye is always going to be helpful. Assuming that they can get over their come out of a bye slump.
True. Because
that needs to not happen. We've got a tie on our record, which even though it's not a loss, it feels like a loss on paper. We're in second place now, the Lions, because even though we have the advantage over them, we beat them. We both have 2 losses. We both have the same number. We both have 2 wins with the same number of losses. We've got that one tie that is just like really jacking things up for us, and that has huge implications for the rest of the season. But I think the bigger issue here with the bye week being so early is that we don't have one later in the season when we could probably use it even more. So I'm going to say it'll help a little, mostly for the rest. I think rest and reboot and really kind of get through some of these fundamental things, especially with the special teams and the penalties. Those need to be cleaned up in order to have a chance against Cincinnati. How about you?
Well, I'm going to put on my green and rose gold glasses because I think it's going to be a massive benefit all the way around. Get a chance for injuries to recover, just general rest, give Micah Parsons even more time to gel with the team and the program, and maybe for the coaches to really take a good hard look at what the heck's going on out there. So I'm going to go with that one. And the listener votes, after you combine Facebook as well as X, it's surprisingly evenly split. 41% went with the bye is going to help a little, mostly for the rest. 37% went with it being a massive benefit, and 22% voted none, no benefit, which I find that hard to believe. And we did have a write-in vote from Dan Dyler. It came in after the voting was done. He put in the option of recovery time for injuries and for coaches to reevaluate their game plan.
We did have some comments on the poll from the Packers Fan Podcast group as well. Megan wrote in and said, well, we could say the Packers haven't lost in AT&T Stadium, but it was an exciting game despite a weird end. That is true. They've never lost at that stadium. Came this close. They can still say, yep, never lost there, so I'll take it. Also, Garrett Stritzel wrote in and said, they don't do so well after byes or extended rest, i.e. Cleveland, with Monday Night Football. I'm not feeling so good about it at all. Yeah, some guys will be healthy, but it's a long season, and it's still September. I very much agree, Garrett.
Yeah.
Really do.
Since we've had Matt LaFleur, it seems to be an issue. But let's buck the trend and change that now. So please make yourself a point to join the Packers Fan Podcast Facebook community. Be part of the conversations at packerscommunity.com. Obviously, there's no game this week for the team, but last night's game, we have a live game chat section in the group, and it was on fire. I could hardly keep up with all the comments going on there. It was wild.
Absolutely. And we allowed you guys to be part of the PFP as well. I know the bye week is just getting started, but our next episode will be our Bengals at Packers game preview, and we need your score predictions for that week 6 matchup. So let your voice be heard. You can do it a couple of ways. First off, you could record your voice, attach it to an email, and send it to feedback@PackersFanPodcast.com or by calling the PFP voicemail at +1 920 3PAC-GO. Your deadline for feedback is Sunday at midnight Central Standard Time, so please send it right away. Thank you, and go Pack Go. How about those voicemails, Wayne? You got any for us?
We've got some, and they've got some things to share with everybody.
Wayne, Scott, Art here in Texas. Just got to my hotel from the game. Oh, man. How disappointing. I mean, the good thing is we didn't lose, but it's still so disappointing. I don't know what happened to the defense. This is the first two games, and even with the Bears, they only allowed 13 points. I don't know. Micah Parsons, he had a pretty good game. I mean, he saved a touchdown. But other than that, no pass rush. Man, we're kind of weak on the cornerbacks. Oh man, I don't know, the clock management towards the end of the last drive. Like, where was the clock management? And then, and plus, he got really conservative with the floor got really conservative with the play calling. Yeah, I don't know what the heck is going on, but they need to get back to the drawing board. Cause, that's not gonna, man, I can't believe they put up that many points on the defense. Yeah, that's all I can really think about at this point. We'll see what it looks like marching forward. Looking forward to that bye. Maybe, hopefully they can regroup physically and mentally and get their heads back in the game in football and the defense. As always, regardless, no matter what, go Pack Go.
Go Pack Go indeed. Art, great to hear from you. I always forget some of our listeners are in some of these places where these games are played, so I'm a little jealous you got to go to that. Actually, my wife's cousin was at the game. He used to live here in the Rockford area and has since moved to the Dallas area to be a teacher. And my wife, we were watching the game. She's like, I wonder if Michael's there. And she texted him, and he sent a shot from his seat in the end zone area. So, yeah. He sounded exhausted too. I know how exhausting it is going to games, and especially, when you get back and you don't have anything to be really excited about other than getting to go to a cool stadium. So I got to disagree with what Art said about his play calling being too conservative. I want him to be more conservative. I want it to be less of this flea flicker stuff and less of these deep throws all the time, and just move the chains, run up to the line of scrimmage quickly, throw the defense off guard, like I said earlier. And to me, that's going back to the drawing board. Just that quick, not quite a wildcat type of situation, you know what I mean? But these quick slants. Remember how awesome the quick slant was back in the early 2000s? It was just like the regular thing, quick slant, and then get some yardage, move the chains, rinse, repeat. Bring that back. We've got the running backs to do it now, and we didn't have that before. Like that's my take.
Well, and like Art said, get back to the drawing board, get your heads back into the game and all of that. And I think there were some drives, and there usually are, that do seem a little too conservative. Even last night, I think it might have been in the third quarter when we took the field, my son said, here's where we're going to do 3 runs or do 2 runs and then throw a long bomb and then punt. I'm like, oh, great. That'll be exciting. But anyway.
It's like he knows the Packers or something.
Let's go back and see who sent us a listener voicemail in. Oh, it's Jared in Colorado. Scott, I need to ask you for this one if you're sitting down.
I'm ready to go.
Why did we tie? Why does this tie feel like a loss? This is Jared in Colorado, by the way. Why, Green Bay? I work with 2 Cowboys fans and a Bears fan. I'm driving into work right now and have to listen to whatever I'm about to walk into. So thanks a lot for that. Oh, I just had to get that out of my system. I've never been so upset over a tie where our offense put 40 points on the board. Let's just get right into it. Low lights, defense. Where it happened? Can we get back to your week 1 and 2 form, where offenses were lucky if they got like 10 points throughout the whole game? Would love that. Nixon, he was just standing there at that last deep pass by Prescott towards the end of the game, where he was scrambling for his life and just chucked it and floated it into the air that was a prime opportunity for Nixon to jump in and intercept that ball, but he just stood there at the goal line and let it happen. Understand that. Yeah, the defense as a whole, I just really want to know what happened. They weren't swarming the ball like they were those first couple weeks. And then we got special teams out there who I don't think I need to get too much into the special teams. I think everyone realizes I hate saying this, but once again, special teams is a liability. Rich Bisaccia, I mentioned this in the game chat, he was a good pickup a couple years ago when our special teams was really bad, which is wild to think that it was worse than it is today, but it was. So I do have to give Rich Bisaccia some credit, but I think we've hit the Rich Bisaccia special teams ceiling, so to speak. I think this is as good as the unit's going to get until they find a new coordinator, unfortunately. The only bright spots on our special teams is our punter and our kicker. So, yeah, it's bad when your kicker's having a tackle in a game, and that happened twice with McManus. Oh, and then, of course, that's 2 weeks in a row now with a block kick. So they got to figure that out. As far on the offensive side of the ball, play calling, clock management, just Matt LaFleur in general, man. Like, Matt LaFleur is don't get me wrong, he's amazing. He's a great play caller, but he's not good at having to throw away his scripts that he had, planned for the game. Like, he's not good at adjusting, at least game to game. I'm wondering if it's time to have Matt LaFleur hang up play calling duties to someone else. I think he's a great play schemer. Like, I think that on paper his plays are good and schemed up well. He just doesn't seem to call some of them at the best time. So other issue, and I'm going to pray, the refs aren't the reason why we tied this game. Not the reason at all. Packers, especially on defense, had plenty of opportunities to stop the Cowboys. That being said, the refs are still a problem in this game. It was you had. I'm not going to get all too much into it, but the last Cowboys drive, I was like, not literally screaming, but close to screaming at my TV, because 3 plays in a row, you had a grounding, and this is in no particular order, I don't remember the exact order, but it was you had intentional grounding by Dak Prescott, offensive pass interference that led to them catching the ball, and Micah Parsons getting held so bad that he was just looking up at the sky because he had a hand in his face. So, all of those went uncalled. So that was frustrating to see. I understand with Micah Parsons, he's like insanely good, and if they called holding on him every time it was happening, they'd be throwing flags damn near every single play. And so there's like this unspoken rule within the NFL that they don't call it as much against players of the caliber of Micah Parsons. I would argue it doesn't just not just Micah Parsons, any player who's that good. I would argue to the NFL, throw the flag every time. Yeah, it's going to make for a really crappy viewing experience for the audience, but throw the flag to the point where the players finally get the message to stop holding. That's my 2 cents on that. It might make for a couple weeks of crappy football viewing, but maybe, if you want a fair game, I don't know. That's just my 2 cents. I'm a little bit frustrated because Micah Parsons gets held a lot, and I feel like his stat line would be blowing up off the paper a lot more than it is now if he actually got some flags thrown his way that are legitimate. But again, refs didn't yield to that tie. So the performance is gonna bite us. At a time when the stakes are higher, whether it be playoffs or, dare I say, Super Bowl. But yeah. Not to be a totally double Debbie Downer, like, there's still a lot of good things out there. I mean, let's not let it get lost. The offense, that's 40 points. An offense putting up 40 points in the modern day NFL is a big deal, regardless of what your opponent is. I mean, Jordan Love, let's give him some mad props. Was it over like 337 yards and 3 touchdowns? All 3 of those touchdowns were Romeo Doubs, so mad props to Romeo Doubs. Matthew Golden seemed to have gotten a lot more looks and made a lot more big plays. It's looking like him and Jordan Love are starting to get some chemistry. So I'm excited to see what that looks like as the season goes on and they play together some more. Our O-line's a problem. I don't want to switch back to low line. I forgot about the O line. Offensive line is scaring me quite a bit. I know that Jordan Love didn't get sacked last night, but I feel like our running game isn't as dominant as it was last season, especially from Josh Jacobs. But I don't think that's a Josh Jacobs problem. I think that's an offensive line problem and not being able to do efficient run blocking. So, yeah, I know our own line's banged up, but yeah. Anyways, going back to the highlights, just the offense as a whole really just looked really great, and I got to give mad props to Brandon McManus too. He's always appreciate when a kicker is, their main job is kick the ball, but when they realize that they need to get down and dirty and make a tackle, make a play, they do it, and McManus is one of those guys. And Emmanuel Wilson, there was the drives that he was in to give Jacobs a little bit of rest. We're still moving the chains fairly well with him running the ball, so I think he's a pretty solid backup. Really excited to see when we get Marshawn Lloyd. That poor kid's just had a really bad string of bad medical issues, whether it be injuries or last year towards the end of the season he had appendicitis. So anyways, I feel like I'm rambling at this point, so I'm going to go ahead and call it. Let's see what happens when I go into work today. That's going to be fun. Go Pack Go. Dead and cold till dead and cold. Bye.
Go Pack Go indeed, Jared in Colorado. I hope your Monday work day went well despite the potential that lied there in your office. So many great points. Brandon McManus doing the job, even if it involves making a saving tackle, because he definitely saved at least one of those was going to go. And Brandon took care of business. So that was great to see. And the special teams, calling them a liability. Has Rich Bisaccia hit his ceiling, Scott?
Quite possible, but I think Jared also made some points that the special teams are not nearly as bad as they were a few seasons ago. If you remember.
True.
That was what we talked about every week, was just like, what is going on? I think trying to stay on the positives here are the unsung heroes that Jared mentioned. Our punter, Waylon, is just insane. He never does a bad punt. He never does a punt that's just like, wow. I feel like if we ever lose him and get somebody else, we're gonna realize how spoiled we were with how well he is at kicking it far and also getting it in the appropriate places. So yeah, we also didn't talk too much about the flags. Don't like to figure that too much, but there's a pretty blatant missed pass interference in the final throws of the game too. That I was like, really? I mean, we got down there anyway, but like, you're killing me, Smalls. So
it was.
Thanks, Jared.
It was, yes, very much appreciated, Jared. Thank you so much for sending that in, putting that together. The reffing was ridiculous. And I do like Jared's idea of, just even if Micah Parsons is an elite player, just throw the flag, no matter how many times that it's going to slow down the game. Consequences be damned, Scott. Let's bring justice and honest calling. So good. Now, let's see who else we got here. Send it into feedback at PackersFanPodcast.com.
Go, Pack, go. Ugh. Gross. I want to throw up in my mouth. A tie? It feels like the Packers just played not to lose. They played conservative ball. The play calls were highly suspect. I don't understand why Matt LaFleur. Okay, I'm going to go back about 3 years ago, and I want to say it was Jaden Reed. He broke off a long touchdown run on a jet sweep. Oh, he's been continuing to try to find that gold again every season, every season since then. And those jet sweeps, the other teams, the opponents that we're facing are wise to it. And then clock management. The clock management has just been terrible. There's like no urgency. You saw it at the end of the game. Jordan Love, he was putting his hands together, and that's the sign to huddle up. I'm sorry, buddy. You got 11 seconds left. There is no huddling up. The trick plays, especially in the first half, we were seeing a lot of trick plays. This is the Cowboys. We should have like opened up the door and just done a bunch of 9 routes. I don't understand why we were doing these little ticky-tack trick plays. It was just dumb. And I'll go back to what I said last week. Rich Bisaccia needs to be canned now. Special teams for 3 years. He was brought in 3 years ago to improve special teams, and there's been no improvement. Like I said last week, the only players on special teams that are any good are Whalen, McManus, and the long snapper. Penalties again, 11 penalties. That goes back to coaching and discipline. And where did the defense go that we've seen the first 3 weeks of the season? We've kept our opponents to under 20 points every time. There was only 1 sack by Parsons, which was that sack by Parsons for no loss. That actually saved the game in order for us to get to the tie. Because if Parsons doesn't trip Dak up, he's going in for the touchdown, and we're facing an L instead of a tie. There's so few pressures. Without their best wide receiver, with CD Lamb gone, and they made Turpin look like a superstar. They made George Pickens. Yeah, that's Pickens made him look like a superstar. And he's a great player, mind you, but he's not a number 1 except for on the Dallas Cowboys. If he went to somewhere else, he'd be the number 2. I looking at my notes again, clock management. It comes up twice in my notes. And then, to add insult to injury, I was up till 12:30 last night, and I had to get up at a bright and early 4:25 a.m. to go to work. That was so fun. But it's all good. It's all for our Packers. But I have one quick story to share with you guys. So I'm watching the game, and as you know, probably, I'm a pretty passionate fan. I can get pretty loud. If you've ever been with me to watch a game, or if you've ever been at a game with me, I can get pretty loud. I'm outside in my pole barn, and I got this big screen, showing the game, and I see headlights on the side of my house. And a lot of times this time of night, we get Amazon deliveries out throughout the day, so not a big deal. So I thought it was an Amazon guy, and we have a dog, so sometimes drivers don't like our dog because she barks. So I went out there to meet the Amazon delivery, and I poked my head out the door to the pole barn, and it's a sheriff's deputy. And he has this big old smile on his face, and he kind of chuckles. He said, "Well, what are your neighbors?" They called for a wellness check because they heard yelling out there. And he said, as soon as I pulled up, I saw the big screen on the inside of your pole barn, and I knew there was nothing wrong. And I just thought that was hilarious that one of my neighbors called me because I was being so loud, yelling at the TV and all that kind of stuff. Just to take anything away from this game, this is a game. It's fun, and we can be mad, we can be sad, we can be happy, we can have our ups and downs. But, as Caleb always likes to say, bleed green gold till we're dead and cold, baby. Go, 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 Pack, go.
Go, Pack, go indeed. Dan, thanks so much for the call. As always, I love that story.
Can you imagine?
Cops called on you.
The only thing that could have made it even better than it was, which was already fantastic, was if he's just casually sitting out back watching his big projector screen, and he was wearing his full Captain Pack Sparrow regalia when the police showed up.
That would have been hilarious.
They would have been maybe great. Wondered about the wellness check, unless they were a Packer fan. Great stuff.
I gotta say, I'm also perplexed by something Dan said, because he said something that Art said, talking about how the Packers are playing conservatively, but then in the next sentence he's talking about all the trick plays. I don't think trick plays is conservative play calling, man. I'm just saying that's you're coming to the the pickup game and knowing you're going to win kind of situation. That's why you do trick plays. You don't need to do trick plays. Fundamental football. So I don't know. I'm a little perplexed by the To me, conservative is doing what I'm talking about, running the ball. We got a stellar running back now. We got a top tier running back. We got a good backup in Williams. We need to be utilizing that. I love that we have a quarterback that can throw for 337 yards in a game and 3 touchdowns. But I want our team to be more well-rounded. That's my 2 cents.
Okay, good stuff. Thanks, Dan, for sending that in. Now let's go ahead and check in with our 2025 season Wager O Fun. And I know there's been some discussion trying to get me to commit to what would happen if by some crazy thing happens and I don't win the Wager of Fun this season. Anyway, I've been thinking about it. I've got a couple other ideas that I'd like to throw out there as potentials. Like,
wear a full-on dress, not just a kilt. Like you got to
think about this.
We'll get you a cute little jumper with a big G in the front of it.
No, those are not what I thought of. I was thinking we could do something called the Ode to the Wager O Fun winner, which is probably going to be me. And the loser would have to write and perform a short, you don't have to sing, a short dramatic poem to the winner's amazing football knowledge. And bonus points if you can get in a Go Pack Go and something that rhymes with that. And maybe also have the loser has to predict on the podcast. I think the Packers, like Wayne always says, that if this turns out to be you doing it, you could predict that, the Packers are going to go undefeated next year and use a bunch of whatever Wayneisms I do. And if I happen to have to do it, I could do some Scottisms. I'd have to think about what those are. And or the Wager O Fun winner gets to assign a fun nickname. Instead of calling you Scott, I would call you something else. Like if you ever saw the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, I could just call you Zaphod Beeblebrox throughout the entire podcast. And you could even make a fun social media post on X and Facebook declaring the winner, if I'm the winner, as the ultimate Packers prophet for the season. Just throwing some things out there.
Those are good ideas, but I also have a great idea. The loser wears a kilt. I can't do a kilt. I know somebody in the group said Wayne won't wear a kilt. I think it was Dan Dyler. I can't wear a kilt. It's Southern California. Why not? It's not.
Do you know how many times I have to bend over to clear paper jams, load paper and stuff all day long? I can't do a kilt.
Do you know? We'll get you a pair of Spanx, so you don't have to free ball it.
Oh,
I think you should just pack up. And I'm just saying.
I think the other ones would be more fun from a listening standpoint. I'm afraid to ask how we did this week with our predictions because the game ended in a tie.
Well, I mean, it doesn't really matter because we all predicted wins, so nobody gets any points this week. Although if we did do the differential, I would have won, but only because I said Dallas was going to score 2 more points. But like I said, it doesn't matter. So nobody's a winner. So the standings are still Wayne with a lead of 1-0, and we've got 1 tie.
Just like the Packers.
That's crazy.
Just like the Packers, 1 tie.
We got 2 wins and a tie, but. So the listener leaders, David Hawkins and Jay Walters, are still tied for first place with 1 win each. So nobody has 2 wins yet this season, which is kind of crazy. So,
is someone
kind of nuts
going to go out of their way and predict a Packers loss just to make sure that they can make some hay?
I mean, I've predicted Packers losses. You never have, but
I did once. Last season or the season before, I did one time, and I felt terrible about it.
Did they lose? I don't remember. I don't remember.
We probably won. So with that, you touched on it a little bit earlier. The NFC North right now, and it's going to get even more complicated. The Lions are 3-1, and that is not right. The Packers are 2-1-1 going into the bye. The Vikings are 2-2. Thankfully, they lost yesterday to Aaron Rodgers, and they're going to stay and play another game in London. And the Bears are 2-2 going into their bye. So we're both going to have byes, which is going to make the standings harder to calculate and make it take even longer to catch up to the Lions. But it is what it is. So
yeah,
we got it.
In other NFL happenings, they also announced during this game who the halftime performer was revealed. And Wayne, I got to say, I think the time of the halftime performers being musicians that we enjoy is over. I think the performer this year is Bad Bunny. If you're not familiar with that artist, it is a pop artist, R&B, hip hop, whatever you want to call. I listened to some because I honestly had to look it up. I'm not very familiar, but it's all in Spanish. So I'm not going to understand what they're saying. I'm not going to recognize the music, but that's okay. That's okay. Not all music is for me. I just, I'm not going to complain about it on social media. I'm not going to be one of those people, but I don't know. I'm not into that music scene anymore, I guess. It's making me feel old.
And although I know that not every musical quote unquote artist is for everybody, if they're trying to win back a lot of other viewers, bringing in somebody that mostly sings in Spanish may not be the way to go. It'll just entertain the younger people. This is probably the year to switch to the Puppy Bowl. But what I'm
still going to watch it.
No, I love puppies. I'll be eating dinner and enjoying puppies. But I think this would be a good opportunity to look at the bright side of things, that there could be a serious alternate halftime show that could be simulcast on, I don't even know what network the Super Bowl's on this year. Is it NBC, CBS? But on like one of their sub channels, you could switch over to it really easy. I think an Iron Maiden halftime show would be most appropriate because they can put on a show. So
they can. I've been to one. It was pretty cool show.
Pretty cool show indeed. The other thing that stood out to me, besides the fact that it's not just the Packers getting blocked field goals and blocked extra points, it seems to be running rampant through the NFL the past 2 weeks. But for me, last Thursday night, I don't know if you saw it, the Cardinals played, I think it was the Seahawks, and the Cardinals wore some new alternate jersey that was loaded with speckles. It was all over the top jersey, the pants as well. That I believe, if this is the true story, it was meant to evoke the fact that out in Arizona, a lot of dust storms, dust and stuff just flying through the air. It's not good at all. And they commemorated it on their uniforms, but it looked terrible. I saw comments online. The people that didn't love it were lambasting it, saying it looked like cow poop splatters all over the place. It just looked terrible. It really, and the jerseys weren't even white. They just looked dirty, covered with speckles. Now
it looks like, I don't know if you've ever worked on a car and you get some oil on you. Yeah. It looked like you were covered in oil spots, like the entire jersey. I was not a fan either.
I'll give him one prop though. The alternate helmet, which did not have the speckles, looked pretty cool with the slightly different looking cardinal on it. So
yeah,
I'm looking on the bright side, Scott.
There you go, man.
Are the rumors true that you have another podcast in addition to the Packers Fan Podcast? Tell me about it.
I do. It's called The Gaming Outsider. We are a video game podcast, and we have a new episode that will be out later this week. This week, we are debating which calendar year brought the best video games of all time. We each picked one year, and we're going to argue about it for a little bit. We also review a ton of games, including a racer that is doing its best to compete with Mario Kart. It's called Sonic Racing Crossworlds, and my producer says it is quite the game, so you want to check that out. You can hear our show at the same places you listen to this one, and you can find our website at thegamingoutsider.com. Lastly, I want to remind everybody, I've only got like 2 more opportunities to do this, actually 1 more after this week, about our upcoming video game convention in Rockford at Cliff Breakers on Riverside. It is R2V2, the video game convention. We're going to have vendors selling video games and consoles. We're going to have video game tournaments. There's going to be about 30 arcade cabinets, like classic arcade cabinets for people to play. We're going to wrap the whole thing up with an after party. I got 4 musicians that are coming to play nothing but video game music. It's going to be an absolute blast. I hope somebody can make it out. If you want more details, head over to thegamingoutsider.com/R2V2.
Thank you so much for continuing to support your Packers Fan Podcast via Patreon. You can check out all the details on how you too can become a PFP patron at PackersFanPodcast.com/giveback. So, go Pack Go, and thank you, Jay Walters, for your Bart Star level patronage. And thank you, and go Pack Go as well, to Dan Dyler for supporting the old PFP at the Jordan Love inspired level.
Also coming in at the Favre $4 support level, thank you, and go Pack goes to Scott Boris. How you doing, Scott? I haven't talked to you in a minute. He's a good dude. Megan, haven't heard her voice in a while. I hope she hasn't lost it at all these games she goes to. And Miguel Ramirez from the Opposites Attract podcast. Also, go Pack Go, and thank yous to our Lambo level patrons, Joe Christensen, Hank Davis from the @Free Podcast Tools YouTube channel, and Brett Connor. If you are interested in joining in, you can also check out the details at PackersFanPodcast.com/give back. We are the Unofficial Packers Fan Podcast, not yet affiliated with the NFL or the Green Bay Packers, but do us a favor, please tell even more of your friends about the Packers Fan Podcast.
And follow us, would you please, on X. We are at Packers Fan Pod. I am at Wayne Henderson. Scott is at GoCast Scott, and his Gaming Outsider is at The GoCast. And although the Packers will be resting and resetting, the PFP community members aren't. So to take us out to the bye week, here's Dan Dyler, Joe Christensen, Megan, and Andre in LA with their Go Pack Go outro.
Go Pack Go!
Go Pack Go!